Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do a knife ramble talking about my experience, right? What do you know, bro? So I get comments from time to time where people are asking questions like, yo, bro, did you cut, did you hard use that and cut 9,000 feet of cardboard, and that's where you got your, estimation that steel sucks? Or, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a scenario that I get these comments that are just like, yo, bro, did you know that cutting paper, like printer paper by itself doesn't tell you anything about the steel or the blade or the edge or anything? It just basically tells you that, it's factory sharp. Shit like that, right? And I have nothing against people who leave those comments. Please continue to leave your thoughts. Like, that's great, right? But it just gave me the idea for this knife ramble, what do you know, bro? Like, who you think you are, bro? And I think what I want to do is just kind of explain and give you background on my experience as a knife guy, what experience I have with knives, cutting implements, in my profession or in my day-to-day or, at home or whatever, right? Just kind of give you an overview of where I'm coming from. That's the important. That's the important thing here, is to tell you where I'm coming from, because maybe that will help you to gauge what I say and your understanding of it, if that makes sense. I don't go around telling people I'm an expert on blade geometry and cutting, right? I clearly state in almost every review that I'm not the guy that you want to be watching if you're here to find out how awesome the, Brown Cortex 154 or CPM 154 performs, how excellent this grind is, how thin it is behind the edge. Like, if you want those specs, or you want to know how many cuts, it takes to get to the center of the Tootsie Pot with this thing. That's not me, right? But there are times where I do give a little more feedback on a blade because I have used it a bit, right? So anyway, that's kind of a quick rundown of why the video, right? And I have a few knives out here, obviously, as per usual. I figured instead of looking at my face for this one, we could look at some recent knives, right? This is the CKF, or Custom Knife Factory Evo 2.0, and it's obviously not a new knife to me. I've had this for a while, over a year, which is pretty long for me, but it's new in the sense that I got this Johnny T custom clip. It's Zirku tie, or black Damascus, and it's freaking sexy. So, yeah, so basically, I have been carrying knives since I was a kid. A teenager, I'd say, right? I always had like a Swiss Army knife or something, but nothing crazy, right? My dad and my mom, like my grandparents, weren't the type that carried a pocket knife everywhere and took me outdoor hunting and fishing and gave me a buck 110 when I was a kid. That just wasn't my upbringing. We didn't do that kind of stuff, really. We went camping occasionally, and we did a little bit of fishing, but it was never like, my dad doesn't know much about that stuff. So, like, it wasn't like that. And my only grandparent that was like that was my grandfather on my mother's side, who lives in Germany, actually. That's where I was born. My dad's American. My mom's German. He was there on business, not in the military. And he ended up staying for 7 years, had 2 kids, and then moved back with his new family. And I was like 2, I was almost 3 when we moved back. But my grandfather over there was a machinist, and is a machinist, I guess. Well, retired machinist, and very handy, right? He built his own house, and so we spent very little time with him, though. We'd go over there for a month at a time, but it would be once a year, maybe, when we were kids. And then as we got older, it was less and less, right? And now I haven't been over there in 3 or 4 years. But when we were there, it was awesome. That's when I got to learn the very limited amount of things I've learned about, being handy around the house or whatever, was from my grandfather over there. We would, do some carpentry stuff, build stuff. Like we built a helicopter out of wood one time, like, not full size, but like half scale maybe. It was really cool. We helped him build a shed, like a big, like, garden shed, really nice. That was also his workshop. So I learned a few things from him, but not, a ton. And in Germany, pocket knives aren't super common to just have, this type of stuff, right? So I didn't really learn about pocket knives from him either. I got into it when I was a teenager. I thought it was cool, right? That's just kind of how it was. And we went to a flea market, me and my buddy. This is the Kizer Deviant. This was loaned in by Jared Neve, and it's a liner lock. This is one of the best Kizers I've handled. I almost bought one the other day, but they just don't have a version that I want. This is copper, makes it heavy. This micarta is just ugly. I call it watermelon micarta. And then they have a blackout one, but that's got like white here. It's like a reversed or a tuxedo. It looks terrible. Sorry, my kids. I put her down to sleep. She's just squawking a little. Man, I love that kid. But anyway, so we went to a flea market, my friends and I, and we saw this knife, and I've always called it the Raptor Claw, right? And it was essentially just a little sort of gas station-y knife, right? Just imagine a Kershaw or something, and it had a hooked blade, like a hawksbill blade on it. But it was also curved, so I guess it was more of like a Raptor Claw. Like, it literally hooked around. Like, if I drew it for you, hold on. It was like, I'm trying to think. You had the handle, but it curved a little. And then the blade was like a hook. Like, literally, it hooked down. And then it had, like, this going on, if that makes sense. So, like, there's your handle. Right? I mean, it just looks like a hook. But it wasn't, like, traditional style or anything. It was, like, modern-ish. But it had this, like, hook to it. We called it a Raptor Claw. That was a terrible drawing. Called it a Raptor Claw. And I had that thing for, I don't know, a couple years. Like, I carried it in my pocket with the clip every day for years. Like, when I was 14 to when I was 16 or something. And the cops actually confiscated it when we got pulled over one night doing dumb shit. I think we were smoking or something in the car, and cop pulled us over for going 35 and a 25. And, my parents had to come pick me up because I was like 16, I think. And they took the Raptor Claw. And my buddy and I talked about it, like, up until our 20s. We would be like, remember the Raptor Claw? Like, he even tried to get me a new one, like, but we just could never find the same, like, knife. And I wasn't, like, a knife guy. I was just into this one knife I had, right? And anyway, so I had that. And then when I was in my late teens, I got into firearms. And I was at a gun store, and I saw a Boker Subcom 2. And that's actually, I still have it. It's down there somewhere in a zipper thing. This is the Artisan Knives small Arian liner lock. It's a White Mountain Knives exclusive. I put this Artisan clip on it. Makes it look so much better. I do have a friend who wants to buy this, so if I sell it, it's to him. But I do really like it. I just, you know, I'm not really going to carry it. I just have other things. But yeah, I got that Boker Subcom too for like $48 or something. And I had that one for years. Like, I had that one until I was 28 or 29, something like that, when we bought our house. And I've been in the house about 5 years. I'm 33 now. So, I don't know, 28, something like that. And that was it. Like, and then when I was like 28 or 29, I was watching a lot of YouTube, and I was watching, this is the Craig Brown Knives Cortex version 2 with Black Micarta. Just absolutely just a fantastic knife. This is quickly becoming one of my favorites with this sheepsfoot blade. This thing just went through 5 labels. That tip I mean, it's a little jacked up. I jacked this tip up, and it still went through 5 labels with me barely doing anything, just a little bit of pressure. So, makes me love this thing even more. But yeah, when I was like 20 or 29, I was watching Nut and Fancy. That's what it was. And he started doing a knife review. And that's where the rabbit hole began. Nut and Fancy led to Nick Shabazz. Nick Shabazz led to Slicey Dicey. And then Shabazz and Slicey led to me finding all these other channels, like smaller channels or whatever. And, you know, that's kind of like where I was for 3 years, I guess, until COVID hit. Like, so from that, in that like 2 to 3 year gap, I bought like 5 knives or 6 knives, maybe. I bought a bug out. I bought a ZTO 450 CF. I bought a Wii rectifier. I bought a couple of budgety things too. I think a Civivi Chronic. That was at the end. That might even have been later. What else did I have in that gap? A 940 I think I got. I can't think of them all, but I mean, that's close to everything. And that was it. I really just had those few knives. Like, I would buy a knife every once in a while, like, you know, when I felt like I had a little bit of money, because at the time I was, you know, I don't know. I was just not spending that type of money. I just bought a house and, like, you know what I mean? I was just a different time. I was younger. So that's kind of where I was at until COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and I've done this video before, and that's when I really got into, like, knives and the details of knives and Instagram, and started an Instagram for knives. And that's when I started, like, buying a lot. That's when I started collecting, was when COVID hit. And that progression went from starting to collect, getting into Instagram, to where I am now, which is a full-blown collector. Not collector, but you know what I mean. That term just makes sense in this situation. I have a video I want to do next that kind of addresses that, but I'm a knife dude now, like full-blown. I'm doing fucking YouTube videos about knives. Like, I'm getting knives in on loan to review. I'm reviewing knives. Like, I'm carrying 2-3 knives a day sometimes. Like, it's, you know what I mean? I'm in the rabbit hole deep now. So that's kind of a quick background on how I got to where I am, right? And then in terms of use case, sorry, just getting a drink of water. You know, again, as a kid, we never did a lot of adventurous stuff. So, like, I didn't learn how to, like, do those things, like tie knots and, like, you know, the shit that a lot of people learn when they're kids because they have a parent or family member, or they're in Boy Scouts or something like that. That stuff never really happened for me. And then career-wise, I never really have had a job that was, like, full-blown manual labor. Like, I did some retail stuff where I was, like, stocking shelves and emptying boxes and stuff, and a knife probably would have come in handy in that case. I think I had a box cutter for a while at one job, but I never had a knife that I used. And then now, like, I mean, my career is all, you know, it's an office job. So, like, most of what I have experience-wise into knives is all from the last 2 years, right? And yes, I carry a knife every day, multiple knives sometimes, and I use them a lot. But, like, I don't have that background of experience where I've, you know, cut sheets of drywall with a knife, or cut down 1,000 fucking boxes in a day, or, you know, worked carpentry, or put in carpet, or that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I just don't have that hard use type background. My background on use case, this is the Demco Knives 80-20.5 with carbonized scales, by the way. This is the AUS 10A version. I do have a D2 Shark's Foot coming. Most of that is, for me, use case wise, is cutting open Amazon boxes, right? Cutting down a little bit of cardboard to put in the recycle. Cutting paper to test the edge. Trying to shave hairs on my arm to test the edge, right? Cutting out shipping labels. As of the last year or so, I've been shipping so much stuff that's literally the thing I do the most with knives. You guys hear me say it all the time. Because literally, if a knife is not good at cutting shipping labels, I don't really like it. And I don't really want it. Because it's something I do so often. And I want to be able to use the knife in my pocket when I actually need it. Because it's not that often, right? So anyway, you know, packages and then cutting into bags is a lot of what I do, right? Cutting open envelopes, cutting open a bag of chips, cutting open, you know, this bag or this bag, my kid's toy, whatever. Some zip ties. I haven't really gotten to the stage with my kid where we're opening Barbies all the time or anything like that. So I'm not like a zip tie master, but, you know, I have had to cut a few. Fruit. So enter the Quiet Carry Waypoint here. Absolutely love this knife. It's in Vanex super clean steel. This hollow grind is so good. I love this knife. This is one of my favorite knives. It is so smooth, and it's gotten smoother. So thanks to Bees Blades for borrowing it. This knife, when it comes to cutting fruit and stuff, like, so my kid obviously eats fruit, so occasionally I have to cut fruit. This is an excellent blade for that. The Drift is excellent for that. The Rosie is excellent for that. A lot of steels are fine. Like yesterday, we were at my parents' and we had dinner over there, and we got potatoes and asparagus and brats. And I was cutting up. I needed to cut up the vegetables. So, and we had a lot. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to test out this Arsenal. This is the Wee Knives Arsenal right here. Ostap Hell design. Cool thing about this knife, the onlay or inlay of G10 is actually also the backspacer. It kind of wraps around. It makes it feel cheap as well as is cool at the same time. It's an interesting concept. I just say it makes it feel cheap because I feel a little bit of flex. Like I can feel, I don't know. It's not really, I think it's just me, but anyway. So I cut a boatload of potatoes and asparagus with this thing yesterday, and it was a pleasure. I mean, it's so easy. I mean, so comfortable in the hand with this neutral handle. And I was doing a lot of this. I was just kind of like doing this, slicing through potatoes, slicing through whatever, you know. And I probably made over 100 cuts. And then I just wiped the blade down, and it's fine. It's 20 CV, and I cleaned it. And nothing, you know, asparagus, potato, that's not acidic, really, so it doesn't matter. But it was a pleasure to use. But, like, that kind of stuff is basically what I do with my knives. So, the reason I wanted to bring all that up, and, you know, this 20-minute video already, but is when you're watching my reviews, just keep that in mind, right? Like, just understand, I'm not an expert. I'm not, you know, I don't go around cutting thousands of things. You know, it's not my job. I don't carry a knife at my job and do cuts all the time and like, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's going to be it's going to show in my review, right? Which is why, again, I always just say I'm not the guy for the in-depth cut testing. I'll tell you exactly what I did with it, and I'll tell you exactly how it felt, and that's it, right? I think some people just don't watch the whole video and listen, or I don't know, and they just assume I'm acting like an expert on the cutting of this blade, and then telling me I'm wrong or whatever. And it's just like, nah, bro. Like, to watch the fucking video. You know what I mean? I think it's the last one, is the ProTech Knives SBR. This is the lefty version with an acid wash, S35VN. Really cool. ProTech actually sent me this to review, which is really nice of them. That stonewash is pretty dang cool. I did put it through some cardboard, and it did kind of wear that acid wash a little bit, but I like what it did, so I kind of want it to happen all over, so we'll see how that goes. And that's the last thing I want to say before I wrap this up. I'm trying actually to do more of, like, not cut testing, but more use with the knife. Like, what I was doing before, and, you know, I probably still will do, is I'm just using the knife day to day like I would. I'm carrying it. Like, so it's going in my pocket, whatever the knife is I'm reviewing. It'll be in my pocket, and when a task comes up, I take the knife out, and I cut with it, right? And that's it. I don't go out of my way to test the knife and the edge or whatever, right? Like, I'm not trying to find things to do with it so that I can have, you know, more experience with it, which maybe that's not good. Maybe that's not the way I should do it, you know? Obviously, you're reviewing a knife. Maybe you should put a little more effort into the cutting aspect of it, because that is what a knife does. But again, because of the way and times, and it's the way and the frequency I use my knives, it just doesn't seem that high on my list of things. It just needs to have certain attributes, like be sharp, cut fairly well, and have a low tip, and I'm pretty much happy with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be thick. That does bug me if it gets too thick. But, like, this would probably be considered a thick grind. But, like, it didn't bug me at all, because I'm not doing the things where that could bug you, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's not that thick. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm going to try to do more of that. So, like, recently I did a couple of videos, or I did a video where I literally cut cardboard with a bunch of knives, and I did a bunch of cuts, and I got a feel for the ergos and how they cut and all that stuff through cardboard. And that was kind of nice. It was good to, you know, use the knives for something a little bit more difficult than slicing paper or a package, you know. And it was fun, actually. So I might start doing that more, and that might, you know, in a sense, lend to my credibility a little bit more. You know, I think the people who watch my channel regularly know that they're mostly going to be getting information about ergonomics, action, aesthetics, and stuff like that, right? Carry, sounds, all of that stuff. They're not probably here to get my opinion on the cutting of the knife. That's, you know, I'm assuming, and I think that's good. Because as I've pretty much laid out for you today, I am not an expert. But maybe I want to be a little better about it, you know? And another reason, to be honest, another reason I don't go crazy with the knives, like go just find shit to cut, is because I don't sharpen. I can't just throw an edge back on the knife when I'm done, you know? So that's part of it for me. And I think I might want to explore that rabbit hole this year at some point. I think I might want to get a KME or something. I don't want to go crazy, but like, it really would be nice to have something that I could take 10, 15 minutes and just throw an edge on a knife. And then I wouldn't be as afraid to go ham with something. You know what I mean? Because that's a thing. Like, if you don't have the ability to put an edge on a M390 blade or something, then you're less likely to want to use that knife as much. You know what I mean? Or like use an expensive knife like this, because even if you can sharpen, maybe you don't trust yourself on a $750 knife or whatever. So that's a whole rabbit hole of things that I would have to go down, is to learn and then trust myself and all of that. So that might be something fun to do this year. But we'll see. So there you go. That's just a ramble about, my experience with knives and essentially on cutting and where I'm coming from in my reviews. I don't know why I'm flipping them all to the clip, but I am. And where I'm coming from on the reviews. So just keep that in mind when you watch. Please leave your comments. I love them. I want to know what you guys think. And I'm just, I love that you guys watch, and I love all the feedback. And yeah. So anyway, that's it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any, maybe you have some recommendations on the sharpening thing, or in general. I don't know. But that's it. I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Don't ever let me draw again. And I will catch you later.